So who do we have coming up?
Oh, well, I've been working with this guy for quite some time now. We had so much fun on the last NAM show. It's no other than Adam Barber. Hey, Adam, are you with us today?
He's there.
He's there. Drinking some coffee.
Yes. Can you hear me?
We can
Yes,
hear
we
you.
can hear you.
Fabulous. Okay.
Fabulous. So, Adam, what happened in the last year?
Oh my word. Let's see. Great. I can see you guys now. Pandemic. And then strangely, a lot of work actually started happening during it. Everybody wanted to work remotely. Everybody started making their own little cocoons and bubbles. And I started getting phone calls for all sorts of interesting opportunities, you could say, that the last year has afforded us. At least that's the way I'm trying to look at it.
Okay, that's cool.
So I haven't been turning anything down because I'm just trying to live in the moment and see what comes my way. And it's been everything from writing. So a bunch of commercial opportunities, number one. Not as many film projects. Those kind of got pushed to next year. But a lot of prep work for film projects. You recently pointed out you saw me with 2 Mac Pros, the new ones, and HDX cards, slapping them in and having fun with that. Those are for a project that's coming up. Fingers crossed, in May or so.
Okay.
And so that'll be really exciting if that comes through.
Hey, Adam, just for those who may not know your background,
Exactly.
maybe you could just tell the people watching kind of who you are and
Yep.
all the cool stuff about you.
Sorry, I will do a quick review. I always forget.
Yes.
I
No, it's
know
all
these
good.
guys so well. So my name's Adam Barber. I am a composer and producer based in Los Angeles. I've been in LA 20 years. And in that time, I've been able to have a wonderful experience in the music community, doing all sorts of things, everything from being an technical assistant for Hans Zimmer, doing assistant technical sampling stuff for Danny Elfman, working on orchestration and arranging and synthestrations basically for Christopher Young. Alex Werman was another person that I worked with. And all along, the son of Ennio Morricone, Andrea Morricone, that was an interesting opportunity for a couple of years. We worked out of the Village, which is a great little studio on the west side of LA. And it's afforded, all these last 20 years has afforded me the opportunity to work on everything from commercials to films, working my way up to writing my own music for my own projects, bands, and then my own features, indie or little things. I had one come out 2 years ago, London Fields. That was a really interesting gig. I did basically everything on it musically, from supervision, editorial, to basically rewriting the score. It was a really great musical project for me to put everything I had learned over the last 20 years in Los Angeles, to put it into a process on a film. It really made me feel good about that. I worked with a lot of great people on that. The engineer was Brad Hanel, who's a friend of mine. He works with a lot of other wonderful composers in Los Angeles. Most notably, off the top of my head, Mark Mothersbaugh. He works with him all the time. And then the dub mixer, which was another great opportunity, 3-time Oscar winner, Christopher Jenkins. I was able to have a conversation with him and ask if he'd like to be a part of the dub mixing team, which he was, and another wonderful person, Sal Ojeda, another wonderful person. And that was a great little small unit. And those are a couple things about me. How's that?
That sounds really good, man. For you guys that don't know what we're going to do with Adam today, we have prepared a little snippet, I think. Derek, is that right?
Well, we did have a video prepared, but we went right into it. So we're ebbing and flowing. We're going with the flow here. So just go ahead.
Okay. So guys, thank you so much. I mean, we have already now over 58 viewers. on all our channels. This is great. I mean, you guys, congratulations to Andreas. He bought his first UFX Plus and he's really excited. I think you will learn something today. So Adam, why not talking about your setup? Because I know you are one of the guys, last time we talked about it, you have a crazy setup because
yeah.
because you mixed literally Dante with Maddie and then you switched over to analog and you interconnected everything. So let me get this straight. You have a Digiface Dante, you have
go ahead. Yep.
Maddieface XT,
yep,
then you have some Dante converters, and then you just you just have the
Maddieface Pro. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about your
setup.
I'm
gonna show some pictures while you guys talk. I don't know what the pizza.
Sorry,
that
was a mistake.
I'm looking forward to hearing about that, but we're gonna go by that in a minute.
Right. I mean, the pizza looks delicious, man.
so yeah, I'm gonna flash some photos while you talk.
Yeah. So this actually So let me talk about the drums actually. So this is actually I used the 12 mic pre, which is the newest. One of the newest interfaces by RME. It's an AVB MADI 12-channel mic pre with 4 TRS inputs on channels 1 through 4. It's a fabulous utilitarian on location or in the studio tool.
There's a shot of it right there.
Boom. Yeah. And that's how I had it set up. In this shot, you see the Digiface Dante and you see the 12 mic pre, and I have a Surface hooked up to it with Total Mix on the right, and that was great for doing some quick mixes and what do you call it? Not playlists, but when you switch between the mixer settings on Total Mix.
Oh, layouts and snapshots.
Yeah. Different layouts and snapshots. So that was really nice to have that because was sitting away from my main recording rig across the room. And here I'm testing right here with the drums. And then what we did here was the idea was I was going to take this and put it into a live setup with a trio with Grammy Award winner keyboard and fusion player Jeff Lorber, Gary Novak, and Jimmy Haslip. That was a blast. So here you see the 12 mic pre. That's going out to my drum kit, which I was using and demoing the unit with, and then. The signal goes into the 12 mic pre on those first 5 channels, and then it goes into the Digiface Dante, and the Digiface Dante then converted that to my Dante network, and it worked seamlessly. It was great. I have 2 Digiface Dantes, so this was the introduction into the Dante network, and then by my Maddieface XT, which is my main I/O for my Mac Pro. It goes to the other Digiface Dante, where that gets converted back to Maddie, into my Maddieface XT, into Logic or Pro Tools for stemming or writing. So that's kind of how that signal flow is going. I hope that.
And I mean, the critical thing for you was to really synchronize Logic and Pro Tools, right? So you got that working now, because Pro Tools is like it's the standard for you guys out there. So how's that working?
It's great. I actually just updated to the latest Pro Tools last night. I have 2 Ultimate Pro Tools rigs on my main Logic computer. I also have Pro Tools Ultimate, so I can switch between the 2. And since Total Mix is a multi-client interface, I'm able to utilize Total Mix in an interesting way, where basically I allow Logic to take over the driver, but I have a native card in my Mac Pro, and I use another interface, and I can still integrate Total Mix into the process of routing, mixing, and doing laybacks, which I have another machine which is just for laybacks. And basically the 2 machines are synced together, and so I can hit Logic, Pro Tools will roll on the PC and record, and those will do my stems. And it's been a really wonderful way for me to work and record what I'm getting done at a moment's notice, whether it's at the end of the night or I just need to send something off, or I need to do redo some stems really fast, I can just hit record and just lay it out in one pass. So the one pass thing has like changed my whole working method, and it's all been because of Total Mix. Really, Total Mix has really been the key, and then the Matty Face XT.
Great. So yeah, cheers, man. I'll get myself coffee as well. By the way, I'm from in Germany right now, so it's near to midnight here for you, for me. So, but it's great to talk to you guys. So we talked previously about the sound of the 12 mic, because obviously that's crucial to you. And when I started recording with a 12 mic, I realized that something is going on for the first time for digital preamp, at least I find in that price range, that wasn't going on in the other mic pre's, and that was the high end on the overheads. And in the videos you or in the pictures to be exact, you have some quite vintage AKG mics for the overheads. How these interconnect, because I know overheads are critical.
Yeah, so those were C12As. So over my time in LA last 20 years, I've been able to make a lot of friends. And one of my really great friends is Jeff Lorber. I'm over at his studio all the time. He has a drum room, and I'm always recording drums. Either he's having me come over and we're doing a collaboration, or I'm going over there and I'm using his drum room. And he has 5 C12As because one's always breaking. So he has a couple extras for backup. And so he has these C12As permanent in the drum room for his overheads. And when we had the opportunity to demo the 12 mic, or actually when RME reached out to me, I was like, oh, I know what I want to do with this. This is like perfect for, small ensembles or for drums. Instantly, I was like, this is so much what I want to do with it. I want to record drums with this thing. And I had his drum room in my mind when I was talking to RME about demoing it. So we get over there, and I had been planning for a week with Jeff how we're gonna integrate it and do this live session, trio session. And in the drum room, you have the C12As for the overheads, which are great. We have a 414 a vintage EB, I think, which is kind of strange, but I put it on the hi-hat. And then we had a sub kick. We had just a regular Shure dynamic mic on the kick. I forget what model it was. We had some 421s. I know some people don't like the Sennheiser 421s, but I like them on the kit we had. It's I hope I pronounced this right, a Sakai or Sakai Japanese drum kit. Is really great kit. And then what else do we have? And then obviously on the snare we had over and under SM57, and I'm kind of my setup here is kind of mirrored off Jeff's setup. I don't have the C12As, but those C12As on that 12 mic pre sound fabulous. And Jeff in his studio, he has an SSL, he has a bunch of API pre's, and he has a couple of Neves. But my basis for the sound, being familiar with that drum room, is a colored sound for what it's going through. And what I noticed about the C12As on that 12 mic, the high end opened up a little bit, and it really sounded. It was like a pleasant, uplifting, open high sound. The cymbals sounded great. So I totally dug it with those C12As. Now I'm jealous and I want to go steal them or get a pair. But that was the first thing I noticed, and I was really happy. I was able to basically A/B what I'm hearing all the time in his studio with his console with this 12 mic, and then run this trio through it. Jeff on keys, Jimmy Haslip on bass, and Gary Novak on drums, and then utilize that in a routing system that I had set up with some other things in the studio. It was a really fun day. And then I realized the power of the 12 mic. It's 1U, and you can take this thing on the road. You can put it into your studio setup. One of the things actually, and just stop me if I'm babbling. One of the things I want to do is that I'm checking out is people are using these it's basically you're able to take Ethernet and run 4 mic cables through it. And one of the things I want to do is get a 12 mic pre and put it into a little mobile rig with basically this Ethernet setup, so I can easily run Ethernet, take it on the road, and then run out cabling from the 12 mic pre over Ethernet, and then set up mics, XLRs, closer to where the players are in a recording situation. It's something I'm mapping out, but the 12 mic pre is definitely key in that scenario. And the other stuff, we'll see how that works out.
Great.
Yeah.
It's interesting because sometimes when we talk about production workflows, or we talk about what the right sound might be, we always have this distinction that it's always vintage that we need, but sometimes it's really about the balance. So when you have a colored mic, or you have a colored bass, or anything that sounds right from the get-go, why adding much more color that just gets you nowhere sometimes? And I think that's what you are facing with this situation, right?
Yeah, I wanted most of the time I want clarity in the signal and what I'm converting. An example is when you guys get me another 12 mic pre, because I want another one.
We will, man. We will.
I like putting effects on the signal chain externally before I go in to the box. So like right now I'm looking at a piano bass, Fender Rhodes, and a Mark II 73, and on the floor I have a bunch of pedals. And what I want to do is I want to play an instrument, whether it's guitar, a bass, a synth, keyboard, and go through pedals, or do the same thing with synths, outboard synths, Euro racks. And I want to do the effects and add the color, not through a preamp, not through a vintage thing. I think vintage gear has its place for sure. I mean, I love it, love to use it. But in general, I'm interested in making color and sonorities and mixing and blending and getting a sound, and I want that to be captured in the highest fidelity with my interface. So I'm always looking for that next level of clarity, capturing what I'm creating.
That's great, because you're not forced to one sound. You can always add the color, it's like a color palette, right? So if you want to stay clean, you stay clean, and if you need some more dirt or more grit, why not insert that, right?
Exactly.
So we have a great question from one of our users in the chat room, and he's asking if you have used other brands before. We don't have to name names here, but what made you to say, hey, let's switch over to RME? What was the initial moment for you?
I have used plenty of other gear. I get this, and this is a question I get a lot. Even before I started this wonderful, meeting the RME team, Adrian, you, and having this wonderful relationship, even before that, I came to realize that I was always recommending RME gear. And being in Hollywood, I consult a lot. Friends ask me for help. What about this interface? What about that interface? I'm getting this like constantly. And especially now with people working from home. Now, I'm not gonna say anything bad about other interfaces. Everybody has their own reason for getting a certain interface, whether it's they understand it, ease of use, their workflow. But what I found consistently was I didn't quite understand Total Mix, but Total Mix was like the gateway drug. Its ability, ease of use, it looks complex, but it's really not once you watch some of Adrian's videos online. It's really easy to use. And once I understood the functionality, and once I understood how it integrated into the recording process, and in particular my recording process and my creative process, I realized that, well, the converters are great. Total Mix is a part of the unit itself, and the drivers, their support and their weblog, it's really one of the best, I think, out there. And it's the way they have designed their interfaces and their gear. I think there is a simplicity that makes it a little more intuitive than other interfaces. I have other interfaces in the studio, but the RME Madiface XT is my main interface. These other interfaces, I set them up and I never want to touch them again, because I think they're just like a Pro Tools interface. I have to use it. I don't really want to. but I'm always finding myself coming back to the RME, interface for the drivers, the ease of use, and they're rock solid. I mean,
that's a huge point. I mean, when we talked at NAM, and it's also in your video, and we show the video on the channel, on the Syntax channel, you can watch the video for yourself. It's 30 minutes long. It's great insight into Adam's workflow. You were mentioning it has to be rock solid, because obviously you need to make money, and you need to be always quick and fast. And when I started to use RME when I was a young lad back in the day, 10 years ago, I had my Fireface 400, still love it to this day. And it was just always rock solid. And guys, I see you in the comments right now. Yes, you can update to Big Sur already. Big Sur is supported with every RME interface. And I see you, Pedro, and Gustavo. Yes, you can also use your Fireface 400 and 800 still with the newest drivers. The only way to do that is with an adapter of a FireWire, but obviously we can control that. But yes, every interface since 2001 is supported still to this day. So
it's guys, crazy. Let me add to that. So like a couple years ago, this is like another reason I think RME is amazing. There's this thing called end of life in technology, and companies don't have to support their gear after, I think, 5 or 7 years.
Yeah.
But RME still supports this like 19 years, 20 years of technology. And the other day I had an old multi-face from 2002 or something.
It's 2002 or 3 depending on HDSP or HDSPE.
It was HDSP, I think.
Okay, then that's the 2001 2002 one.
Yeah, and it was crazy, and I wanted to plug in some synths and use the ADAT conversion. And I found the drivers on your other site that's not supported anymore.
Yeah, but it's the old one. Guys, before we forget that, if you're wondering, and I know this is a question that's coming up already in the chat, Total Mix Effects is part of the driver. Just download the driver and then you're good to go. Okay, guys? Just download the driver and Total Mix is included in the driver. Okay, so
it installs and it pops up. Yeah, no worries. Yeah. And so I downloaded it and I was just completely impressed. It worked. It did what I needed it to do. I mean, I've used so much technology. There's very few pieces of technology out there that's a converter that's still basically supported after all this time. I mean, they're just such a good company in that one of those in that one regard. In addition to everything else they do well, it's really fabulous. So that's another reason. I mean, these pieces, they're just, I love them. They just work. They do what I need to do. I'm able to use them and integrate them into my workflow, and they just work in the background. And I have so many of them now because other interfaces, the drivers, not supported anymore. The interfaces of these other things I've tried before are terrible, confusing. I'm just like, yeah, whatever. I'm over it. Anyway. Sorry.
I mean, that's part of our deal. I mean, great guys, thank you so much for all these great comments. I see you. I mean, that's obviously one of the reasons why you all love RME, apparently, because the messages are coming in, and it's always drivers, it's stability. Great guys that you appreciate our work, and I tell you, we have very, very passionate engineers. Everything that we do is made by ourselves, from the USB driver to the FPGA, which is like the programmable stuff in the interface. It all comes from us. That's why we can still deliver this rock solid performance. And apart from that, I mean, we released the HDSPE AIO Pro now. And it's now on DAW Bench, the best sound card when it comes to latency, and that is just PCI Express. So, guys, we are still there, and we still try to push the boundaries of what is possible with the latency. So, Thank you guys for all the support. I mean, Adam, what's latency in your world? Is this a thing, or why should we care about latency in a one-man setup?
Yeah, well, I do actually. In my setup, it's a tight, efficient, small setup, but I actually have performers over here all the time. So I've had everything from a trio to just solo percussionists, and I will have people come over, and latency is a killer for creativity when somebody's really sensitive to it. You will have instrumentalists come over and be like, if they sense it in the feel of the music between what they're playing, if they have perfect pitch, especially if they're really that sensitive to the environment, the music, and what's going on, they're like, I can't play to this. So some people, it really is a killer. Some people literally cannot work with latency. So in my situation, in my scenario, even if it's a Babyface or the Matty Face XT, doesn't matter about the channel count. I'm always direct monitoring. So I'm coming in from the microphone, whether it's a dynamic condenser or a contact mic. I'm coming into the interface, and then I'm shooting them a direct signal back out. And what's nice about the Matty Face XT, the Babyface, the Matty Face, or the Matty Face Pro, which is like the Babyface, I can give them a little EQ, a little compression, and if it's a vocalist, I can give them a little reverb. If it's Total Mix Effects, and they are set, and then we just start recording. And then in the box, I'm muting their recording track, and I'm just giving the singer what they need to hear, and then I'm doing all my other creative stuff in Logic or Pro Tools. So that's another like great benefit of Total Mix Effects.
Yeah. So guys, if you don't know what we two nerds are talking about, latency occurs every time you convert something analog to digital. Meaning, if I'm recording my guitar or my beautiful voice onto my computer in my DAW, the computer needs some time to convert the analog signal into numbers. So that's a problem for many guys, and that's one of the reasons why you should sometimes work in Total Mix Effects, because when you work in Total Mix Effects, and I'm not making this up, this is not a marketing claim, there is zero latency. So it's like working with a normal analog mixing desk. You hear it instantly, and you don't have to worry about what's going on in the DAW. In the recording environment, your DAW just becomes the tracking system, and everything else in Total Mix Effects is zero latency. And this is so crucial. Especially, I had a session with a bass player, and Adam, you can tell about these experiences as well. You have people that have so tight feeling, and they just hear like 10 milliseconds, they can hear that, and it's just like, no, it's off, I don't feel it. And when you have this session and you work in Total Mix Effects, it's gone, and that's the beauty of it.
Yeah, absolutely. If they hear a little bit of phasing, so one of the things that will happen when you get into recording is sometimes people will double bus or do a direct out, and they'll send an out from their recording track, and so the person with the headphones, whoever's recording, they'll hear two signals. They'll hear the signal from the DAW, and then they'll hear the direct signal out from the interface. And then you hear phasing between them, and that little phasing is the latency that's being produced by the conversion. So one signal is direct, no latency, and the other signal has latency from the DAW, and people will be like, what's going on? Yeah. And you just simply, in my case, I'll just mute the DAW and let the instrumentalist just hear their direct signal. And it's just like a major studio. There's no delay. It's you can give them their own feed. I'll give them their own headphone feed from Total Mix, and it's off to the races we go, and it's great.
Oh, absolutely. So, because I know you're such a you love the 12 mic, you love what we do, I think we have to mention another product that we will send to you over. It's the M1610 Pro, which is absolutely, I mean, we talked about this in preparation for this show. Guys, it's one of the best ADDA converters that we have, and I will prepare something with Derek, because every output of the M1610 Pro and the M32 Pro. DA is DC coupled, meaning for all you guys that want to do some crazy modular synthesizer stuff and want to control your analog synthesizers with your DAW or any program on your computer, you can do that. I mean, Adam, this is like the best of both worlds, right?
Yeah, I really am looking forward to getting my hands on one of these because I like using Reactor, and I also have soft tubes. They're Eurorack stuff, and I want to try some interesting stuff with seeing if I can get the CV out working into my Oberheim expander. And there's some other synths I have my eyes on too that have the Eurorack stuff that I want to experiment with outputting control voltage and whatnot. So just music, creativity, and general nerddom, if that's a word.
Yeah, so great. Okay, guys. Again, I can't stress this enough. If you have any questions for Adam Barber, just write them down in the chat now. I mean, there are a lot of comments, but they're generally about our stability in our drivers. And shout out to Munich. There's one of my fellow countrymen because I'm Germany and Adam is where are you? In Culver City right now.
Culver City, yeah.
Yeah, so we're like 7 hours away from each other, but we still managed to do that, and that's because of our brilliant latency, guys. No, I'm just kidding. So, Adam, another thing that I wanted to talk to you about was also the DI input of the 12 mic, and you used that, and you told me that the DI input gave you some really hefty beef, right?
Oh yeah. Actually, one of the nicest things about it was being able to plug in Jimmy Haslip, bass player, directly into it, and he sounded great. So that was just having those four is a huge convenience factor. So we had him on the DI on one. We had I forget what we did with number 2, but then on the 3 and 4 we had keys. So I took the signal from Jeff's SSL console. There's a TT patch bay, which is just a patch bay. And I took the cable and I just plugged it right into the 12 mic. And he was playing out of a Yamaha, I forget, some Yamaha keyboard, which is like a Rhodes, had a great Rhodes sound or a CS80 sound. And that was having that dual input is another like great implementation of the unit, having that available to you. And then also here I have synths. I want to be able to basically plug out a 1/4 inch and pop it in, and boom, it's ready to go. So those four 1 through 4 fabulous. Has gain, which is another fabulous thing, because sometimes, like, I have a couple of synths, I won't call them out by name, but they really upset me. I've noticed that their gain structure, they're just kind of soft, and so now I find myself looking for converters with gain. So I can, like this, in this case, I could just go over. I can push the button on the 12 mic pre, and then you have access to the gain on the right with a little knob, and you can just turn it up. Boom, done.
And also crazy on the 12 mic. At least I have to try to clip the DI. I couldn't do this. That was great, because sometimes you just don't. These sessions. You work and you forgot something, and then you clip, and the take was good, but it's gone. So to have headroom in this quality is amazing. But I seen your little iPad and I recognize that. Do you still use the Total Mix remote app, by the way? I
do. Oh yeah.
You have to show that in the camera, guys, because Total Mix is not only available on your screen, which means on your Mac or PC, but it's also available now as an iOS device or iOS app, so to be clear. And yes, thank you, Adam. And it's a fully fledged Total Mix that you have there. So everything that you do on this app reflects the full Total Mix effects and vice versa. The only thing is that we just bypass the audio signal, so it's just controller data. Oh yes, thank you. Oh, yeah. Adam, what are you doing with the Total Mix app normally?
So trying to make it level so basically it's ideal for situations where I'm not in front of my DAW. So in this case, I'm seeing in real time my snapshots, and a real world example would be I have my iPad and I am not near my DAW and I'm working with an instrumentalist and I'm standing closer to them and further away from my keyboard, and I'm not able to touch Total Mix physically. Well, I can do it with my iPad or with the Surface Pro. Is Total Mix out on Android?
Right now, it's not.
Okay. All right. Well, but everybody has you. If you don't have like it's not a big deal. It's just if you have an iPad, it adds this next level of functionality and ease of use to the interface, and so it's great to have. It's not a deal breaker, but it is a luxury that I really enjoy. And so I can take this over to the instrumentalist and I can turn up the gain. I can affect the EQ. If it has Total Mix effects, I can do a little reverb. Do you like it like this? And I can stand next to him. I can take the headphones and I can test it like that. And then I can also affect the routing, and I can everything from routing to gain, headphones. I can all just do it remotely. So that is something I'm always using Total Mix effects. I'm Total Mix remote for, and I am using it even for myself. If I want to set up in a different area away from my computer, I'm taking Total Mix on Total Mix remote on the iPad with me to where I am, and it's just nice not to have to do the dance back and forth. I mean, you're over here. Okay. Gotta touch back over here. Go over here.
Yeah,
go over here.
I completely get you.
Yeah. So that's the biggest joy. Allows me to stand away and be creative in the spot I want to be.
Yeah. And remember, guys, the Total Mix remote app is free for all of you guys. Just go to your app store and download it, and then you can set it up. We also have a really nice setup video on our RME channel, where you can see how you can just set up the whole thing. Adam, I think we could talk for hours now. I mean, we both are nerds. We love gear. We love both RME. I mean, we have so much to talk about, but sadly we have to go on.
No.
I had a question for Adam with Total Mix Remote. Have you ever bothered downloading it for a laptop? Because if you don't have an iOS iPad, you can still use a laptop. And I know a lot of drummers like to take a laptop, or if they don't have the iPad, they can go in and do it that way. So it's just another. I didn't know if you've tried that or.
So the closest thing I have done to it was the Surface Pro 7, which is basically Windows 10 on a tablet, and it's basically a laptop, but it's a touch interface surface, and that's my integration going down that path. I have Total Mix on every laptop I have. But when I implemented the Surface Pro 7, I was like, wow, that's awesome. So I really enjoyed doing that. But yeah, I wherever I am, Total Mix is there.
That's great.
We appreciate it.
Thank you so much for being here, and we will invite you back definitely. I think we have to do something with the M1610 Pro, just a session. People, if you have questions, again, write them down. I'll try to find all the questions that I can see through all those great comments. If you have something for the next extravaganza, people, write it down. We are open for any idea.
And one last thing, also, the web forum, RME's web forum, if you're not hip to it, it's a great forum. The people there are helpful. The engineers, people like Adrian, they interact with it. You can reach them through the web forum. I'm always looking at it. It's a great tool, and it's a great community. And you can also see the beta drivers and things like that. Anyway, that's all.
Oh, thank you. Great insight, man. See you next time, Adam. Thank you so much.
Take care, Adam.
Thank you, gentlemen. Take care.